Hello and welcome. My name is Raniyah.
And my name is Maria.
And this is Light Cuisine.
Food for the soul.
All right. So this is our entree number 2. And we're at the Cater Cafe again. So what are we going to be looking at this week, Maria?
We are going to be looking at Taste Prayer, chapter 2.
All right, cool. Well, before we get into the actual meal itself, just want to give you an outline of how we're going to go about this 3-course meal. We're going to have about 5-10 minutes of appetizer and read, 10 to 20 minutes of the main dish analysis, and 5 to 15 minute dessert Q&A. And times will vary depending on how deep we go into each section. But overall, we're shooting for about 45 minutes. But before then, Maria, how's your week been? I know you said you went on a trip this week, camping, I believe.
Yes, I did. My week went well. I did go camping for some fresh air and to embrace Mother Nature and all the gifts surrounding me in that area. I was praying a lot for people who seemed to reach out to me, like upon my entry to the camp, to express some of their troubles. And I did pray for them. I try to transfer some of my energy and some of my love into them. And then just I try to speak with nature and kind of ask it all to aid in this moment. Maybe that the Creator will send some positive vibes to them and all that sort of stuff. But as I was sitting out there on my blanket outside, I did write in a journal a very short entry about the layers that people put on themselves, how they stack themselves with layers of personalities, whether it's makeup or clothes or ideas, just things, troubles and stuff, and only to later on want to have it all removed. And that when they do try to remove these layers, that it's a little too heavier than they can bear themselves sometimes. And it gets to a time where people either break down, give up, or ask for help. And I guess I wanted to share a message that struck me at the time that I was reflecting on, is that when you reach out for help, that it will require time and patience. It will be there. It will require time and patience to be relieved of all that weight that one has allowed themselves to be burdened with. And that in the end, if you are patient, you can release all of that and you can see things in a clearer path. And in the end, instead of being the one that's crying for the help, you can end up being the one that's also helping by sharing, your testimony or something. I don't know how, but that was something that I was thinking about writing and trying to understand as I was sitting there, how to relay this with the people who reached out to me, hoping that maybe this message, this idea may help them somehow to just be patient and just write it out. But I think that's all I have to share about my little trip there. Aside of that, it was a beautiful trip, and I did a lot of thinking, a lot of meditation. And I was very nurtured.
Well, that's
anything
awesome.
You want to share?
Sure. First, that was awesome. You got to be a spiritual camp guide and counselor without even knowing it. So again, letting your light shine wherever you go, and even when you go to the campground, people will follow. So beyond just being attracted in the hospital, little old ladies, your friends will follow you out in the woods too. So
in spirit, they weren't there in person. They were just they somehow followed me in spirit.
Okay. Well, They must see something in you, some quality that tells them, okay, she has the answer. And I want some of what she has. So that's awesome. But it's, we'll say ironic, but no irony. It's like we all go through similar things, similar trials and temptation. And I know I was reflecting on it too, because as your friends are going through it, as we all go through it, we have those temptations and like wondering why is things the way they are, especially now with the whole COVID-19 thing, and especially with what's seen as the compulsory or mandatory vaccination some people are putting forth to continue to be employed, and that can create stresses, and it's all just a time of testing. I know it reminded me of what I read in the Apocrypha in Sirach, also known as Ecclesiasticus, chapter 2, verses 1 to 5. And actually I have it open right here, and it says, "My son, if thou come to serve the Lord, prepare thy soul for temptation. Set thy heart aright, and constantly endure, and make not haste in time of trouble. Cleave unto him, and depart not away, that thou mayest be increased at thy last end. Whatsoever is brought upon thee, take cheerfully, and be patient when thou art changed to a low estate. For gold is tried in the fire, and acceptable men in the furnace of adversity." So just thinking about all that's going on, yes, people may have these wicked plans, or they may have these schemes. I guess that may be a better word for it. They may have schemes that are to go against those who are seeking righteousness. But the vantage point that we should be looking at it as we're going through it is that, no, we're just being tried, we're being purified, so that there's nothing lacking in our character in the end. And it's always encouraging just to read this, just knowing that in this pursuit, it's guaranteed you're going to be brought to a lower state. All the outer strippings are going to be stripped away, and just seeing what's really at the core of you. And just knowing that is an encouragement. Just knowing that I have never been alone, that going forward in the future, there are other people who will feel the same way. And I believe that's part of value you could bring to your friends even. That crossing over, once you're refined, you're seeing that golden light within you. Now you're able to help another and pull along as well. So I think that's all I have to say.
Thank you for sharing that
I drew out this week. But anyway, it looks like our appetizers are ready. So we're going to read in Page Prayer chapter 2. And what I'll do is I will read the odd verses, and you'll take the even verses for us. Sounds good?
Okay. Yes.
Okay. Let's do this. Starting in verse 1. Jehovah heard Tay's prayer and answered him. He said, "Let the angels of heaven go down to the earth. My blessed son calls to me in wisdom and truth." And the angels of heaven descended to the earth, for it was in the early days of Danha, a time of great spiritual light, in the firmament of heaven, and the angels manifested and proved the immortal life of man.
2. Jehovah said, "Let this day be the beginning of the reign of Cosman, the new era now upon us. For it is the beginning of the wisdom of earth joined with the wisdom of heaven in my name."
Tay said, "Yet not even half is answered. O my Father in heaven, since you have proved the immortal life, you have stirred me to my soul's foundation. Where do these inhabitants of the unseen world come from? Where lies this heavenly footstool of your majesty?"
4. If when I am dead, I shall see the place, is the germ of that sight not already in me? How am I made that I see but do not see this, hear but do not hear this? If I am now dead to that which is to be, will I not then be dead to what is here now? Give me light, O Father.
Jehovah said, "I gave a corporeal body to man so that he could learn corporeal things, but I made death so that he could rise in spirit as an angel and inhabit my ethereal worlds."
6. Tay said, "You made both the seen and the unseen. Are they at war or in harmony? My corporeal body is made of earth, flesh, and stone, mineral stone, and water. Is the spiritual body then not made of air, oxygen, hydrogen, and imperceptible dust?
The angels you have sent have feet and legs. Why? Do they walk on the air or wade through it? They have no wings. They cannot fly. They say they have not seen the illustrious angels who have long been dead. Must I also go into the S-world, spirit world, heaven, simply to meet my neighbors and never salute the wise of ancient days? Give me light, O Jehovah.
8. Something within me makes me anticipate the light and glory of what I have not seen, but I must have it tangible and demonstrable, the pure truth.
Verse 9. Have you not given me an inquiring spirit so that I may prove all things to my own satisfaction? How and when then, O Jehovah, shall I find growth for my own members so that I can know the S-worlds and its inhabitants? I will not be appeased by merely seeing the spirits of the dead or by their testimony. They may call themselves God, Christ, Buddha, Brahma, Allah, Confucius, or Jesus. Yet I will not rest on them or their word. I will put forth my plea to you only, O Jehovah. I am your son, your daughter.
10. You have quickened me to know things by my own knowledge. And though it is told me, thus said the Lord of your God, yet I will raise my voice ever above them. And though a spirit says, I am your Jehovah, believe me, I will deny them.
For you have quickened me to rise up above the tales of the ancients and to demand knowledge from your throne. By you, my soul is moved to this magnificence, and only your magnificence can satisfy your son, your daughter.
12. As to the spirits of the dead, I desire to know their dwelling places, how they live, how they travel, their manner of growth, their food and clothes, and how they spend their time, whether they labor or live idly, and above all, to what extent and in what way their corporeal lives affected their spiritual happiness in heaven.
Verse 13. I desire to know, too, how it was with the ancients. Make clear, O Jehovah, the heavens and the ways of my forefathers, for I would apply your lessons wisely. The wisdom of today I would weigh against the crucible of the past, and set my star to the future, well prepared.
14. What then, O Father, is your judgment upon the world today? For I desire to know how to live, so that tomorrow may prove an everlasting glory. Make plain the ways of heaven and earth, O my Creator. I would know your creation, so that my just place in your wide universe may become known to me.
Verse 15. Give me light, O Father, not by word of mouth. I will have my members quickened so that I can comprehend within myself.
16. Then Jehovah the Creator spoke, saying, to all men and women I gave two senses, CORPOR and S. In the time of Cephas, now finished, I allotted time for man to mature CORPOR, materiality. But now the time of Cosmon has come, the new era, and man shall mature as S, spirituality.
Verse 17. It is well that you be believing toward men and angels, but it is better to develop yourself. You have desired to know the mysteries of my unseen worlds and the past histories of the earth. Behold, I will give you a new sense, which will fulfill your soul's desire, and with it you shall read the books in the libraries of heaven.
18. In the past, have I not said, all things shall be revealed? Do not think that a loud-speaking messenger will come, for man would not believe. But I quickened the righteous with my own hand, and they will comprehend without belief. I like that.
Verse 19. The time of preaching and believing is at an end. Man shall know by his own knowledge and practice that which he knows. In this, my light is being manifested in this day.
And again, Jehovah spoke in heaven in answer to Tate's prayer, and a wasp came forth, being one of the first fruits for this, the Cosmon era.
Okay, cool. So we got an appetizer, and apparently the appetizer is composed of fruits. All right. So that I love fruits.
Me too.
So Anyway, let's move on. All right, so let's go on and let's go to our 4-section question dissection, our main dish analysis. All right, so let's go to our first question right now. So fruit section, delighting the soul from the very start. What was it that got our attention? Like, this is some good stuff. So first question, what impacted you the most in this passage, and why do you think this is? You have that? Any thoughts?
Sure. I like verse 5. It made me feel validated in the thought of me being a spirit that is existing in this vehicle of a body, temporarily, and that I feel like I have a lot more to experience afterwards. That verse made me feel like I have a lot more to experience afterwards, and that death is the only beginning of the next new book.
Okay. Well, awesome, because guess what? For me, that was the same exact verse that struck home like immediately. The body is for learning what is materially best. So we had like just coming in, if we're in complete darkness by itself, we would know nothing. If we're in complete light, we would know nothing. But you're learning both extremes, and what is good and what is bad, and the nuances within each one of those. That's the whole point of his life. So if we just get in just completely to never proving anything and just believing whatever anyone says, then we miss out on a crucial portion. I think this is where religion, like in a bad sense, has destroyed things. We're supposed to prove all things, hold to that which is good. It never said just to blindly follow someone in some belief. You have to have tangible evidence, just like you would in a court of law.
Yeah.
You expect, no one would just say, well, just believe me. How crazy would that be? So we understand it when it comes to seemingly the things of this world, but then we fail to acknowledge it many times when it comes to that which is spiritual. And the whole point of the physical world is so that we can learn those spiritual lessons. Like the Bible's filled with different parables, giving you a earthly story so you can understand how that spiritual reality. But somehow we become lost in the mix with that. So this definitely, it hit home. Like, stop with just the blind belief. Prove it. Grasp it for yourself. Science has its part in our existence. And am I talking about the bad science that is the same thing as religion? No, because you have science that claims to be science, but is pseudoscience, because you just have to believe, because there's no way for you to prove it in of itself. It's just where's your starting belief points at. That's all. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's a trickier word to make it seem like there's something different, but no, it's still a faith system. In a part, we all have to have some type of faith. But the next thing was, yes, like you said immediately, as for death. This takes away that fear. Like, it's people, because it's the unknown, because we have a veil of darkness over us right now.
Yeah.
We look at death as like, oh, that's something scary. But when you see that, oh, I just become a spirit, I become an angel, that takes away everything. Okay.
Yeah, it's soothing. Yes, like, you still have to investigate more, but it's soothing to like read that, because somewhere inside, it's like we wanted to kind of come across those words.
Yeah. So definitely investigating, but knowing that there's something more versus the nothingness that you feel with most religions are the airiness. Like, it gives you, again, angels usually, across the board, they thought of something that's something positive. I can think of, unless you put evil in front of it, evil angels, but usually call those demons or whatever. But usually the term angel has a positive connotation. I guess also a denotation as well, but connotation, just what people feel about the word inherently. So again, that's the whole point. It's nothing that's supposed to be scary. I'm supposed to just continue to rise. and rise in the hereafter. And that's a far cry from the burning forever and ever and ever in a hell without end, and there's never any way out. So yeah, for me, that I think I'll stop there. Okay, so let's go on and close this view.
Okay.
All right. So next question. How does this passage affect you in your walk with the Creator and with others? In other words, how are you enriching all for a greater self, a greater you?
Okay. So for me, this passage, it's still a small passage. So far as we're walking through this passage, what I feel currently is that it just magnifies the walk that I'm already on with my Creator, giving me, soothing and validating words, at least for me, it gives me more to look forward to as my path is already in a clearer state. As for with others, I think it's a little too soon for me to know exactly how it affects my my walk with others. But I do know that, like, for example, we were just speaking about the verse 5 about, you're living here now, but there is an afterlife and things like that. When I come across someone and they may share a worry or something, for me, I won't really say, the words exactly as I read them, but I will express this sort of expression to others. Like, this is just the beginning. There's more to life afterwards, So I don't know how that exactly affects anyone who hears me say things like that, because I do say stuff like that. But I hope that it gives that sort of awakening feeling, like, okay, there's more to life than what I'm seeing right now.
Yes.
So it is too soon to tell, but I'm hoping that some of these words that I have taken from here do, broaden somebody else's mind.
All right, cool. Definitely for me, what it creates for my Creator is anticipation. Like I told you before in just the previous question, when you think about angel, you think about those who are serving, those who are going to fro, that have a free range, I guess you will. So it's exciting. Like, wow, like the things that you read about the angels doing in the Bible, that's something that when released of this physical shell is something to look forward to, and doing it for someone else. So again, it creates anticipation and excitement, if you will. Yes, death is only the beginning. It takes on a different meaning. You hear that, it becomes like a cliche, if you will. But then when you read passages like this, like it takes on that much more of a meaning, a deeper nuance, I guess, to it. As for as others, it allows me to see everyone clearly as angels. Like, we're just bottled up temporarily in flesh that blinds us, and we fight against each other and war against each other. But in the end, this is the destiny for everyone, even the worst of individual, their redemption. Now, how long it takes depends on them. But again, even the worst of people, I look at, your angel. Live up to your birthright, if you will, to what you truly are. Again, it just changes so that in my own mind, like any negativity, just seeing what people have done, I can always look and realize what's at the core, the essence, the center of them, without any repentance, any relenting. It just elevates just your view of what your fellow man is, as opposed to just all the nastiness that can be done on one level, and just realizing that they're just at a different stage again. They're blinded temporarily by whatever their circumstances, their tradition, their habits, whatever it may be. And once they are free of this flesh, then they can really begin that journey. And then the trueness of them without this flesh can rise higher than what the flesh is at this time temporarily blind them to. So I think that's pretty much it for me.
Okay.
Go on to the next question. So, protein section. Does this passage remind you of anything else you've read? What and how?
Not really. I mean, there was one book, The Law of One.
Okay.
And even though this is so far from each other, there was a part of The Law of One, and I cannot recollect exactly where. But it said something about how plants or animals, they move forward, they grow, they expand, similar to like how we do. And that when they move forward, they're ready to take on like a bigger version of their life. And that's all that crossed my mind when I thought about something. That's what it reminded me of. I was thinking like, oh, those plants are getting bigger lives. Okay. They have an afterlife. But do I believe that? I don't know. But I just thought kind of reminded me of that, except we're speaking of human spirit, our spirits versus plant spirit and animal spirit. And that's the only thing that I found relatable between. How about you?
Well, just to tag off a little bit on what you were saying and everything, I think we do like using the whole tree plant. We're giving an example of acorn. And you see that at the very beginning, acorns in a little shell closed up. But the truth of what that acorn is manifested only after a long period of time as it become an oak tree. So much larger, so much bigger than what anyone could have ever imagined within that little shell in of itself. And that's the perfect picture of what we are. Again, the whole idea that, we're angels. Again, I may see the flesh and the nastiness of it, or just how hard and callous it may be, how it allows nothing to penetrate, no light is coming in. But once that shell is broken, then I see the true value and the shade that it can bring, the housing, I guess you will, birds, a nest that can be created, the seeds being produced as well, and eventually creating a whole forest from something that seemed like is worthless to something that has like of infinite worth. But as for me, something that I saw within the passage that struck me was in verse 9. I'll pull the verse up real quick. And it says, "Have you not given me an inquiring spirit so that I may prove all things to my own satisfaction?" And that reminded me of a verse in the New Testament that said, First Thessalonians chapter 5, verse 21, that says, "Prove all things and hold fast that which is good." And it's like, literally, prove all things is the basis of what we're here for. That's what verse 5 was, here to learn corporeal things. But somehow, even though it's in the Bible, somehow people have been blinded just to have blind faith in something without any proof or evidence. Even though this is Paul that's speaking right now to the Thessalonians, and I found that interesting. Like this has always been, but again, because of just the traditions of men that have clouded what the actual words of the Bible says, we're left with something that's seemingly different. So that seems like it's something brand new when you get to Osprey and it's saying the same exact words. And another passage that reminded me of was in Hebrews chapter 11, verse 1, which many times that whole chapter is called like the hall of faith. I'm just showing of the heroic deeds that were done through faith of the patriarchs. And the first verse says this: "Now faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen." And we look at this and like, hold on a second, faith is substance. Like literally substance is matter. And then you look at, it says evidence. Well, evidence is proof. So faith at its core is proof. Like you're seeing the end results and you can draw a conclusion. And it's never been that whole idea that just believe what I said, just trust me. No, the creators never wanted that. From biblical time to the present time, to the distant past, it's never been a thing about blind faith. That's only the influences of men. So for me, that was incredible. That tied things together, the past, present, and future, for all generations. It's going to be the same thing. So for me, it was an enlightening moment to see something else bringing a secondary testimony to things that people could blow off in time past.
Okay. Well, thank you for sharing that too.
Okay. So let's go on to our final question. So what do you believe is the biggest hurdle in this passage for others to accept?
Okay. So the biggest thing would be like, why Jehovah? Why trust him?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm trying to put myself in someone else's shoes,
okay,
who's like coming from a very skeptical place, actually, like myself. But why him? He actually, so far, he seems like any other God. He's higher than others. He seems like he's about to dictate something, tell me what to do. Don't all other gods do this? I mean, yeah, we mentioned all the other names like Allah or Brahma or Jesus, but I mean, okay, we don't look at them, but we look at you. Who are you, Jehovah? Why you? Mm-hmm. What separates you from any other God or system that I have fallen slave to? Mm-hmm. So to me, that would be the thing that might kind of cause some questions or be hard to accept. But again, this is just the beginning. Mm-hmm. So I know that with, delving more into this, things may change.
Okay.
And that's all I wanted to share. That's what I thought would be the biggest hurdle to kind of get past, of why him. Okay.
Okay. So as for me, what do I believe is the biggest hurdle in this passage for us to accept? It is on similar grounds, Jehovah only. And I can think just from a Christian point of view, how you can say like Jesus is put in the forefront of everything, and like, no, there's something wrong with that. I can think of that from those who I grew up with, or what the challenge may be. But then I think about something like John 14:28, where it says, where Jesus is saying the Father is greater than I, which is in their own past, their own scriptures, that's alluding to that, no, there's someone who's greater. And then also when Jesus says that he and the Father are one, but they're only one because he surrendered his will even unto death for the Father. So it became unison because he sacrificed. So I see those things that could be potential issues with fellow walkers or fellow seekers of truth. But as you examine even the passages that are put within these other sacred writings, you see the unity of it. So it becomes really a non-issue at that point. But that's how I see as far as individuals, what could be the trip up, and never clearly like asking, well, what does it really mean? I know in verse 9 it says they may call themselves God, Christ, Buddha, Brahma, Allah, Confucius, or Jesus. They're just saying they are. I know there's another passage that talks about that another will come in my name, and him you'll believe in the Christian Bible. But again, it can be like a knee-jerk response when a name that you're familiar with or what you perceive or you grew up with is put into the conversation. So again, I feel like those are the things that verse 9 would be the biggest challenge, even though there really should be no challenge if you harmonize it with what the verses in the Bible actually says. Okay. I think that's about it for me.
Okay, well, thank you for sharing that.
Okay. All right, so let's go on. So our dessert section, our Q&A. Do you have any questions you wish to ask me? Clarification?
No, not yet.
No?
How about you?
Currently, do I have anything specifically for you? No, I think you pretty much expressed everything clearly. So yeah, I like dessert today. Okay. Definitely look forward to more interactions as we process and pull the WASP apart, week by week, chapter by chapter. I think that it is overall just kicking off is something that is of an encouraging nature. Just thinking about the best of each other, of one another.
I feel the same. I feel like the more we get into, the more we read it, the more we grow in it together, and even the conversations, they'll get more in depth. You know, so it's a nice start. I like it so far.
Okay, cool. Well, with that said, do you have any final thoughts that you want to give to everyone who's listening?
Yes,
perhaps to your friends.
Yes, I do. So, peel off the layers yourself, because you put them on yourself. Own up to it, people. Stop rewinding. You don't. I'm sorry, Raniyah. You really don't have to say that. I was
get yourself together.
Get yourself together. You did this to you. I had to face my demons, and look, I'm walking out because I had to face myself. That's the beginning of this change. Hold on. Okay, so really, let me go back. Any final thoughts? Would be to be patient, research a lot, investigate things, weigh things out yourself, use your life, your walk, your trials to measure where you're at and where you want to be. So that is my final thought to anyone out there listening.
Well, that's a good thought, like weighing everything out. And I think that's really the complete tenor of this verse, or this particular chapter, is that questioning the heart. It's never just giving in to just what's being said, but where you know it, where you know thyself, where you know that you know that you know, and you're unshakable because the evidence is proven internally, externally. You're one. The streams, they meet, and again, like it's just a piece. There's a piece within you. There's no more unraveling. Someone could say something, but you have a foundation that you can build on. And I guess that's what we all want. We want something that is sure, that is solid, even though we may act contrary with emotions at times. Contrary to it, we really do desire at the end of the day to feel that security in things, something that is certain, and either side, which if you want to put it from the religious or from the scientific, everyone's looking for something that's certain. And I think the more that we realize that everyone is seeking for the same thing, the sooner we'll come together. And what seemed like is two separate pathways will eventually be seen as one, if we're honest and truthful with one another, and there's no false pretense. And that's the key. There's no false pretense, because people pretend. They pretend they know, or give this air with maybe complicated words, and it's nothing that is clear cut and concise. So they'll confuse you inside with just the wording, they'll confuse you with the wording. So other than that, I have nothing else to say but this: to always seek, observe, and understand. Shalom.